So you're willing to give?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you saw him because I was all weekend.
And I found you.
I couldn't believe. I rode all over the place waiting for you. Always
Sue. Sue. You let me know when you at 7 o'clock. Let me know when you at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, until they can turn around and sell this. Have you ever had Litecoin stocks?
Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Buckner?
Here.
Reverend Campbell?
Here.
Mayor Jones?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Saunders?
Here.
Mr. Shanks? Here. Mr. Tomer?
Here.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Here.
Mr. Whittle?
I want to welcome everyone here tonight to council. Students from Tunstall, welcome as well. We'll now have an invocation from our birthday person from yesterday. Happy belated birthday, Councilman Sherman Saunders. We'll have an invocation for Councilman Sherman Saunders and a pledge of allegiance. Everyone, please stand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. God, we come this evening to give thanks for your many blessings. Please continue to bless our nation, our world, your children everywhere. We ask for your guidance as we try to make the right decisions for the citizens of our city. There are many needs as well as concerns for safety, employment, health, education, finances, family stability, and peace. And peace. We ask that your love be seen in everything we do. By doing so, our city and everyone in it will be just fine. God, these blessings we ask in your name and for your sake. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communication from our visitors, citizens who desire to speak on matters not listed on their agenda can be heard at this time. Madam Clerk, would you share the rules, please?
Communications from visitors is an opportunity for citizens to address council on matters not on the agenda. Citizens who desire to speak on agenda items will be heard when the agenda item is considered. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and address. Each individual speaker shall have 5 uninterrupted minutes. A representative of a group may have up to 10 uninterrupted minutes. The representative shall identify the group, and a group may have no more than 1 spokesperson.
Anyone would like to speak on any item that's not on the agenda, please come forward. State your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone who would like to speak on any item not on the agenda may come forward at this time. Consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine. I open the floor for a public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak for any item on the consent agenda? I open the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak on any item on the consent agenda, please come forward at this time. I close the public hearing. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Buckner.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items A through C.
Second by Councilman Whittle. Discussion of the motion. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Appointments, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution reappointing Jeffrey L. Bond as a member of the Commission of Architectural Review. I move that we adopt a resolution appointing Terrell Payne as a member of the Community Improvement Council. I move we adopt a resolution appointing Natalie B. Whitlow as a member of the Danville Community Policy and Management Team. and a resolution appointing Philip Hall as a member of the Airport Commission.
Second on the motion, Councilman Buckner. Discussion of the motion? Discussion of the motion. Madam Chair, call the roll, please.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Tomer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogel.
Aye.
Mr. Whittle.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Under new business, consideration of amending the fiscal year 2019 budget appropriation ordinance for a Virginia Commission for the Arts grant in the amount of $4,500. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman
Mr. Mayor, I
Campbell.
move for adopting the amendment, the fiscal year 2019 budget appropriation ordinance to provide for a Virginia Commission for the Arts grant in amount of $4,500 and provide for the local share in amount of $5,000 for a total grant of $9,500. First reading.
Second, Councilman Buckner. First reading. Consideration of approval of full-service ambulance operators permit to Life Care. Open the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak? Does anyone wish to speak? I close the public hearing. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Buckner.
Mayor, I make a motion approving an ordinance granting a full-service ambulance operator's permit to Life Care Medical Transport Incorporated.
Second. Councilman Whittle, discussion of the motion. Councilman Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to discuss the proposed contract with Life Care. If you remember a few weeks ago, if you go back, we had cases of delayed response, 57 minutes on one case, and two other cases of delayed response. As you go back, you remember Regional 1 pulled out of the contract, the backup contract. This is a backup contract for the rescue squad, and gave 5 days notice. The new contract has 60 days notice for Life Care. At that time, we had a patient who was very ill, possibly having a stroke, and there was a delayed response, which certainly caused issues. We had our ambulance committee meeting. We heard from people who had been involved. We also heard from Life Care. I've had 2 meetings with them, one at my office and one at their facility, the new facility. And I think they've made a genuine effort to improve their service. They've brought in 6 brand new ambulances, state of the art. They've committed to providing care. Also, I think there's still some problems with dispatch, but that's not Life Care's issue. Dispatch and the rescue squad, Robbie Woodall's here tonight. You might want to hear from him. And the rescue squad and dispatch are trying to work out these problems. But I'll give you a contrast. What happened today? A patient walked into our office today with a heart rate of 180 and what we call supraventricular tachycardia. It happened before. He'd been to an Eden hospital and he converted his rhythm before he got there. Well, he was still running fast when we got him. We tried to convert his rhythm with what limited medicines we had there. We couldn't, so we called 911. Within 11 minutes, Life Care was there. Within 7 more minutes, they had the patient loaded up and going out the door. So that's a stark contrast, a very good contrast to what happened several weeks ago. So I think Life Care has made a genuine effort to improve their service and getting much better response and getting on the spot quicker. And this is all for the benefit of our patients because time does matter in these cases. So having said that, I think we should support this. Give Life Care the contract. It's a 5-year contract, and they do have, they'll require to give 60 days notice if they should withdraw. We'll still be watching the response and everything, but I think to this point they've done what they said they would do to improve their service.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Councilman Campbell.
Yes, I'd like to piggyback off of Dr. Miller. I think one of the issues also, they're looking at a regional plan.
Right.
Could you address that issue, please?
Yes, sir. We, and I think Mr. Larkin is looking at this with the Pennsylvania County to have a common dispatch. About 20 times a month, I'm told, calls go into the county and have to be transferred to the city, 911, or they go to the city and have to be transferred to the county. We lose time. I think a regional one dispatch center would be an improvement. Henry County does that. Martinsville and Henry County have the same dispatch. Halifax County and the town of South Boston have the same dispatch. I think we need to look hard at that. That's another issue, but I think we need to look hard at that. Lynchburg doesn't, because they're surrounded by 3 different counties, and it's hard for them to put all those together. But our local communities have found it to their advantage to have a regional dispatch, one dispatch calling all, and we need to look at that.
Another issue, Dr. Muller, you said they were getting more ambulance, but they didn't say that they would be getting more drivers. Are they getting-
No, they've gotten, as far as I know, we can ask her to comment, ask them to comment. You full staff, as far as I know right now. They hired a lot of the previous Regional 1, and they've hired enough staff. And again, remember, to their defense, they had, it was 5 days Regional 1 gave notice that they're pulling out, so they had to scramble to get somebody. And but right now, I think it's fully staffed.
Councilman Shanks?
Yes. Mr. Larkin, didn't we just revamp our emergency response system within the last 2 or 3 years?
The E911 dispatch center,
Yes.
yes, it has been revamped.
And it was revamped with top-notch equipment, was that?
Yes.
There was some discussion at that time about Pittsylvania County wanting to join in with us. Can you just summarize, or were you familiar with that?
I was not familiar with that. I have touched base with the county to see if there was any interest, and at this point, I haven't been able to relay this to the rest of council, but they don't have interest at this point in partnering, but that possibility still exists in the future.
Okay. I mean, I know we've had that discussion, and the opportunity was there, and it didn't happen. And we just put a lot of money into ours, so.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Still discussion of the motion. Anyone else? Just want to take out time to thank the ambulance committee and the members of the ambulance committee, as Dr. Miller stated, Councilman Buckner, with what you all are doing with that, and Robbie, and all the members of the ambulance committee. Thank you all so much for this and what you're doing. Madam Chair, Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders? Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Consideration of amending and reordaining Chapter 32 entitled Retirement System of the Danville City Code. Council, what is your pleasure? Councilman Shanks.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to move for an adoption of ordinance repealing and reordaining Chapter 32 entitled Retirement System of the Code of the City of Danville, Virginia in its entirety in order to update and reflect the current pension and retirement systems for the city officers and employees.
Second by Councilman Saunders. Discussion of the motion. Discussion of the motion. Councilman Shanks.
This basically is addressing the public safety review that we've had in the retirement benefits, and that's is that it in its entirety, that revision?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick comment. We know about the concern, anytime you start talking about retirement income, people get concerned, and they should. But this, as Councilman Shanks just said, the whole idea is to attract and retain public service workers. And I believe this is a great step in that direction. I'd like to thank council for considering it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Consideration of authorizing the city manager to enter into an American Municipal Powers Agency designation agreement. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Shanks.
Yes, Mayor, I move for adoption, an ordinance or a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the agency designation schedule with American Municipal Power, Inc.
Second of the motion. Councilman Whittle. Discussion of the motion. Councilman Shanks.
Just for the benefit of the public, this is an agreement to allow AMP Ohio, or to have AMP Ohio actually read, representatives from AMP Ohio, to actually read the meter at the Ringgold Solar production plant, just as they do now at the Schofield Dam.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Tomer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Whittle.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
All right.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Consideration of rescinding ordinance number 2005-09, 12 pertaining to the approval process for murals in downtown Danville. Vice Mayor Vogler.
Yes, Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2005-9.12 entitled Collaboration between the City of Danville and the Downtown Danville Association to implement a mural program in downtown Danville.
Second, Councilman Buckner. Discussion of the motion. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Tomer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Whittle.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
All right.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Consideration of approving a purchase agreement to acquire the Daniel Group hangar at Danville Regional Airport. Council, what is your pleasure? Dr. Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to propose a resolution approving a purchase agreement to acquire the Daniel Group hangar at the Danville Regional Airport.
Second on the motion. Councilman Shanks. Discussion of the motion. Councilman Tony.
Yeah, Mayor and members of council, my reservations aren't anything against Averett or anything against our Director of Transportation Services. I think they both do a great job. My concern is that how this piggybacks into the next ordinance we're going to read F is that we're using city taxpayer dollars, $140,000 of city taxpayer money to purchase a hangar in which the sole occupant can only be Averett, in which the lease is only going up $800 a month. That's a 14 and a half, almost 15-year payback. I just have concerns, council, doing that or allocating funds for that for this sole purpose. And it has nothing to do with Averett. It's great that they've got the program. I just don't know that it's a great deal for Danville to spend our money in that way. That's just my opinion on one of 9, but I'm going to be voting no on this.
Councilman Shanks.
Yes, I understand Mr. Tomer's concerns, particularly in the payback period. However, this is the only hangar at the airport that is not owned by the city of Danville. It lies on city property. The footprint of the building lies on city property. And Averett is an important member of our community at the airport with the aviation school. And I feel that this particular instance, the payback period is appropriate, and I'll be supporting it.
Anyone else? Councilman
I think
Campbell.
this was pretty well discussed in our work session. That'd be most benefit in every way, even though it's not the best, but I will be voting for it also.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Tomer.
No.
Vice Mayor Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Whittle.
No.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
All right.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Consideration approval of a 5-year lease renewal agreement with Avery University at Danville Regional Airport. Council, what's your pleasure? Public hearing, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I open the public hearing. Please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Elizabeth Ringgold. I live at 3616 Ringgold Church Road, Ringgold, Virginia, but we have the General Aviation at the Danville Regional Airport. General Aviation is happy to support the city's decision to extend a 5-year lease to Averett University so that they can continue their operations at the airport. We also ask that you extend the same courtesy to us and extend our lease for another 5 years so that we can continue our operations at the airport.
Public hearing is still open. Anyone else would like to speak on this matter? Anyone else would like to speak on this matter? I close the public hearing. Council, what's your pleasure? Dr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to propose a resolution approving an agreement leasing hangar and administrative space at the Danville Regional Airport to Avery University for its flight center.
Is there a second? Councilman Saunders. Discussion of the motion. Councilman Toma?
Again, they're getting a $140,000 hangar for $800 a month. I just don't know that that's a good deal for us.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
No.
Consideration of approving a resolution of support of the Historic Tax Credit Enhancement Act of 2018. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Vogel, Vice Mayor Vogel.
Yes, Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution urging the City of Danville's congressional delegation to support the Historic Tax Credit Enhancement Act of 2018.
Second by Councilman Buckner. Discussion of the motion. Discussion of the motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Whittle?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Dr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Tomer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
Aye.
Consideration of amending FY 2019 budget appropriation ordinance for a grant from the Virginia Housing Development Authority. Council, what's your pleasure? Councilman Campbell.
So may I move for adopting ordinance amending the fiscal year 2019 budget appropriation ordinance provide for a grant from the Virginia Housing Department Authority's amount of $125,000 and local share in amount of $75,000 and appropriating the same. First reading.
Second by Councilman Buckner. Discussion of the motion. First reading. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate this opportunity to speak before you. My name is Colonel Retired Lawrence Meter. I live at 407 Chestnut Street in the Old West End, Danville, Virginia. And today I'm here in my role as Vice Chair of the neighborhood organization called Friends of the Old West End. And with me is Dr. Paul Lippy to my rear. I must tell you, when I first heard about the proposed rehabilitation of the Jefferson Court Apartments, I was skeptical. And so were members of the board. However, after learning more details and actually visiting the property with members of the Danville City government and hearing the plan of what they were going to do, we slowly came around to thinking that accepting this grant would be in the best and most economic interest of Danville. Turning the building from an eyesore to one that is ready for development can only help with the revitalization of the Old West End and continue to grow and expand the success you've had in the River District to adjacent areas. So we encourage your support. We also encourage our council to continue the path set forth many years ago to bring new life here to Danville. It's working, but there's still more to do. As you know, the health of our National Historic District is vital concern of the Friends of the Old West End and its residents. It's about the currency of caring. It's about making a dramatic difference in our community while accomplishing our mission. It's about saving our culture one historic residence at a time. It's about bridging the divide from North Main through the River District, across the Old West End to the hospital, Averett, Schoolfield, and beyond. Finally, it's about working in concert with Danville City government focus areas, reducing crime, improving education, and bringing jobs to the area. Each time we resurrect one of these houses, we employ people. Danville didn't turn in a positive direction overnight. It required research, discovery, deployment of assets, funds, knowledge, and leadership to drive this positive change. About 4 months ago, our executive director, Dr. Paul Lippy, came to you and briefed you about our plans to collaborate with the city to market the Old West End, the neighborhood, and bring new residents to Danville, to the
to help fill vacant and sometimes blighted properties within the OWE. I will tell you that the program is a resounding success. Since March, there have been 10,000 unique users that have come to our marketing webpage. They have viewed 32,000 pages of documents on our houses. We have over 300 subscribers to our new weekly newsletter, the Old West End Gazette, and we have responded to more than 200 inquiries and visits to see the houses here in the Old West End. And this is all being done with folks that are, they're not being paid to do this. They meet somebody who comes to town and then they shepherd them through the houses. Most importantly, 7 houses have been sold in the last 120 days, and an 8th is currently being negotiated. The average time it takes to sell a house is 6 months in Danville. And if it was in the Old West End, it was almost 3 years. And we've done almost 8 now in a little over 4 months. This has brought us 12 new residents and more on the way as rehabilitations are complete. About the same time, 2 new businesses became firmly established in the Old West End, Cream and Vine, sir, and Millworks Bakery, with a 3rd, Old Oak Wood and Stone, expanding into the Old West End, and we look forward to even more. It has been and will continue to be a pleasure to work for the betterment of Danville, its citizens, and this city government. Appreciate your time and hope that you'll pass this grant.
Councilman Shanks.
Yeah, I want to personally say you've done a wonderful job in your endeavors in the Old West End, and likewise has the entire organization. But you've taken on some personal projects, and they've done well. Appreciate your efforts there.
Thank you.
And appreciate the efforts of the Old West End Association. Question to you. Have you're in the renovation business to some extent?
Yes.
Have you run any back of the envelope numbers on what it would take to bring 205 Jefferson up to speed?
I have, and from what I've been told, the city's purpose was to stabilize it and secure it, and then at some later date, to market it to a developer, which I think would work. I met with a gentleman who travels between Richmond and Charlotte, and he has breakfast here in Danville every Tuesday morning. And he's renovating just these type of structures. And he told me there's nothing here in Danville for him to buy at a reasonable price. So he's doing these buildings in Richmond and Charlotte, and he meets his staff here about 3 times a month. So I think there's going to be, once some money is put into it, I think there's going to be some folks coming forward.
But you're not really up to speed as far as knowing about how much it would cost to bring it into a livable, acceptable, occupied by the city occupancy permit?
We can just do average math. We can say the average house in the Old West End would take a minimum of $100,000. This is a 16-plex, so it's going to take probably $1 million, saying that you have economy of effort because you buy 32 of the same window versus 4.
Right.
So I'd say probably close to $1 million.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for all your hard work in the district.
Thank you.
Dr. Miller?
Yeah, again, thank you for all the hard work for you and Dr. Lippy and all the people who've done that. It really is, the area has really come to life. So we appreciate it. But I too have reservations. I've looked at that building and I really have reservations that it's ever going to turn into anything. And I could be wrong, but it looks like a money pit to me. Anyway, that's just my comment. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote yet, but we don't vote tonight anyway.
Right.
Thank you. Again, I too want to say, I grew up in the community, and I just want to say thank you all so much for all that you're doing. I've saw the video. I go through the neighborhood all the time. Just for those who are listening and may not know what OWE, the areas that you're talking about, can you share exactly those areas that you're talking about in the OWE?
Sure. Yeah, so the OWE is the Old West End Historic District. It was the first historic district here in Danville to be designated. It runs along Main Street from about the Cannon all the way down to Jefferson, and then it hangs a right. Goes down to Jefferson to about Green Street, and includes Pine and Green, and then it travels up to Chestnut and up to Sutherland and Houghton? Holbrook, and also crosses Main Street to Chestnut Street, and comes down a little bit on Grove.
Again, thank you all so much for what you're doing. I'm just excited to see what you're doing in the community. Again, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else who would like to speak? Please come forward. And please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
I have some handouts. My name is Stephen Wilson. I'm a resident of the Old West End. Well,
Thank you.
I just want to speak to the general picture of where this Jefferson apartment is in terms of the future of Danville. And I wanted to remind you guys, actually I handed this map out to the city council.
You can speak directly into the microphone.
Sorry, I handed this map out to city council December 15th, 2015, with a description of why we don't need a Quickie Mart at Holbrook and Maine. What we needed is a coffee shop, and somehow that idea caught on. But I wanted to remind you, this map, which I handed out at that time, is from Charles Bucke report. It's online, and I just wanted, I copied for you because you may have forgotten the bullet points of what the city should be doing to move itself forward. And I wanted to introduce myself not only as a resident on Main Street, but I came here 14 years ago, actually, to found a company called Luna on Bridge Street. Our company was one of the first ventures into recruiting companies to town, and I came from the New York area to Danville to try to hire people, and I was told it would be difficult. Turned out that recruiting people from around the country to the Main Street area, downtown, whatever, even though people from Danville didn't believe in us, but people from all over the country believed in Danville, in the vision which is outlined in the Bucke report and this map. And so I hope you all will realize that, in fact, some individuals in the city have picked up, and we're almost right on track with what Charles Bucke said for our movement forward. And in fact, I wouldn't have totally believed it until we went online, and we're now blasting messages about Danville all over the country. And believe it or not, it's not just New York. People are calling from Florida and California. So we have to be optimistic about the future of Danville. We shouldn't actually ask people to live in the surrounding neighborhoods whether they want to move back downtown, because we're not going to be marketing, recruiting people to come to Danville necessarily from out by the golf course. But I just want to thank you all for considering and pushing this project forward. And just what I think is this apartment project is really an extension of the River District development, which frankly, when it started, I was kind of skeptical myself too. But in fact, this is what we need to do to move Danville forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Communication, City Manager.
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Deputy City Manager.
Nothing this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney.
I'd like to remind everybody that Friday night at 7 o'clock, GW kicks off for their home opener against Lynchburg Christian Academy. And if you happen to be out there, see that Media Solutions will be broadcasting from the sidewalk We'll have a special guest who is calling his last football game, Don Robertson, who has been broadcasting GW football for the last 30 years due to some health issues that will probably be apparent if you stop by. We'll be calling his last football game, so we want to give him a really good send-off. And Mr. Vipperman of CVIP Media Solutions says, please stop by until 7 o'clock, because at that point, his game face will be going on and he won't be talking to anybody else. But come out, support the Eagles, and come out and say thank you to Don and congratulations on his broadcast career.
This Friday night.
Yes, sir.
Game starts what time?
7 o'clock kickoff.
Fantastic. City Clerk?
Nothing.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Buckner?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that came out to VIR this weekend. It was absolutely an amazing event. You know, all our hotels were full, all our restaurants were full, and that place sure was packed. I think there was around 30,000 people that showed up, and just a great time. If you ever get an opportunity to go out and spend the weekend, I highly suggest it. That's all tonight. Thank you.
Reverend Campbell?
Yes, I'd like to ask the city manager a question, or the deputy city manager. Could you elaborate on the process of the city buying vehicles?
The city buying vehicles?
Yes.
Well, I think probably would need to get, I can probably give you a basic overview, but to make sure I have it accurate, I'd probably need to get with Public Works to give you a full report.
I've heard complaints from some of the car dealers in town that it's not completely open. We do more out of city buying than we do in city, and I thought it was procurement that is open.
Well, typically what we do is we take the lowest price option within the scope of what we're looking for in a vehicle, but I can get you more details on that.
Okay. All right, thank you. My last comment is there was a meeting on Friday with Senator Kane, Ms. Coburn, with about 30 of the citizens within our area. And there were some major concerns. The four major aspects of the people there were the youth, entrepreneurship, education, and safety. But most of the time was put upon development of entrepreneurship. My concern is, I know that we have the Ringo Incubator there, a business development center. We have Longwood, I think it's at DCC. We do not have anything that's in the downtown area. Then I found out that possibly is something on the second floor called River City Co-workers. Is that still in operation, an incubator? Do you know?
River City Co-worker space? I'm not sure I know the answer, but we happen to have somebody here who might be able to help you with that answer. Possibly Corey Bobe, our Assistant Director of Economic Development. She may know. I hate to put her on the spot.
The River City Co-working space will be opening next month on Main Street. They're leasing the lower level of the building where Solex Architecture is located on the 600 block of Main.
Well, I just hope that there's a lot of public announcement on that. In the gathering on Friday, I know it's a good 10 or 12 that were interested in assistance in startup businesses. Mm-hmm. And since that is happening, I'd rather to see pushing that and word is out that that is in operation.
Sure. If anyone has any questions, they're more than welcome to see our office, and we can connect them to the proper resources. If they need a space, we can certainly connect them to River City Co-working. If they need technical assistance, there's the Small Business Development Center as well as the launch place.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Jones?
To all of those who attended the Ruby Archie dedication at the library, it was a great event. Thank you to all council members and city staff who was there. It was a great celebration. Also to the Tunstall students, we welcome you here again. Hopefully you all have a fantastic year in school. It's amazing to see you all. I think it's very exciting for each one of us. I had a meeting with the former mayors. I shared with council that I would be meeting with the former mayors of our city, and that meeting was on Friday, and Councilman Saunders was there along with 6 to 7 other former mayors. And it was encouraging and enlightening to see and to listen to the former mayors of our community. Our city manager was there as well. And I just want to thank the citizens of our community, sincerely from my heart, for those of you, just like tonight, who are helping us move the city forward. We put the 3 strategies in place: reduce violent crime, education, and grow Danville. But it's so important that you all help us develop solutions to those strategies, and it's happening. We are very serious about reducing violent crime. This council, this police department is very serious about reducing violent crime, and almost to the point by any means necessary. We're not going to tolerate it, but also just want to sincerely, as I close, say thank you to all of the citizens in and without this community, as you heard today and you heard tonight from citizens who talked about persons not even in Danville, but in Florida and other places, talking about the wonderful things that are going on in Danville. And I cannot personally thank you enough, because that's what it's going to take to move our city forward. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Dr. Miller?
Yeah, thank you for the Tunstall students for coming. I think it's embarrassing GW students never come here, or Galileo. I don't know what their government teaches, but we thank you all for coming. You're pretty loyal attendees. The Ruby Archie was a great event. It was crowded. I mean, I don't know. There were 150, 200 people crammed in a little room meant for 50. But a lot of people showed up, and a lot of just a great event. Music on Main, the last Music on Main is tomorrow night. If you haven't been to Music on Main, bring your blanket, bring your lawn chair, come out. The music has been superb this year. Every one of them's been good. And finally, Councilman Campbell. Fred, I don't see how you read your paper there. It's so bright, the glare. Mayor, he has put you down tonight.
Yes.
I mean, he just, I don't know what we're going to do to combat this, but we're going to have to do something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Saunders?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to welcome the former chairman, board supervisor, Mr. Jesse Boxtel. Welcome, sir, and feel free to come anytime you'd like. Also, dedication for Ms. Ruby Archie Library, as the mayor just said, was a wonderful event.
Yes, sir.
And the AKA, the lady, they raised a lot of money, and they were really out in huge numbers to support that event. Also, say a special welcome to our students, current and future leaders. Keep doing what you're doing. Very, very proud of you. And with regards to partnership, restoration, rebuilding our city, getting the community involved, especially community partnership with the city. Special thanks to our city manager and his 1,100 employees and his most able, capable deputy, working so well together, building partnership, bringing other people's money back to our city. Well, it may be some of yours as far as state and federal taxes, but what they're bringing back is a lot more than we pay in our state and federal taxes. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and thanks to all of our citizens for supporting our efforts, and thank you for asking us a question when you don't understand, and when you disagree, thank you for saying so, and when you do that, please offer a suggestion on how we can make it better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Shanks?
Yeah, I too would like to welcome the Tunstall students. Do y'all mind standing, all the Tunstall students,
Yes.
so we can see how many there are?
Please stand.
Please stand. The government class is really an exciting class. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's interesting, and history, the history that comes along with it is amazing. The biggest thing I remember from government class is the Constitution, study of the U.S. Constitution. And it's amazing how that Constitution has lasted over the years. And I encourage you to be familiar with it and refer back to it occasionally throughout the years. Thank y'all for coming. When I saw Jesse Barksdale here, I was amazed to see him. I miss him terribly. He served with Sherman and I and Lee on the RIFA board. He was chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and he's a pilot, an airplane pilot, and he's just a wealth of information. So anytime that he shows up at a council meeting, it's truly an honor to have him here, and we appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Tomer?
Oh, nothing this evening, thank you.
Vice Mayor Vogler?
I too want to thank the Tunstall students. I won't ask you to stand up again since Councilman Shanks already gave you guys a shout out, but thank you for being here. You represent Tunstall very well. Also want to point out Terrell Payne, who is here tonight. He was appointed earlier to the Community Improvement Council, and I noticed he stepped in, I think, right after we voted on it. But I did want to thank him for being here tonight. Terrell, thank you, and enjoy your appointment. I know you're going to do a great job. And just a couple other things. I won't spend but just a second on this tonight because I know we'll be discussing it further probably in the weeks ahead when we actually vote on it. But you may have seen in the paper on Sunday a story about data centers and our efforts as a city to attract them here to Danville. It's something I'm very passionate about. I feel very strongly about. Danville is perfectly suited, geographically speaking, to attract data centers to our city, which would bring jobs and revenue. But as it stands today, we are not competitive when it comes to the tax rate. And so that's a discussion we're going to be having in more detail here in the very, very near future. But my hope is that when it's all said and done, we come out of it with the lowest tax rate in the Commonwealth of Virginia for data centers. And I believe when we do that, we're sending a strong message that Danville is the best place in Virginia to locate a data center. And we will do other things, of course, in regards to attracting them. But we've got to get competitive on the tax rate side, and right now we're not. But I want to thank Council for taking this effort up and look forward to hopefully finalizing this in the month ahead. And lastly, I just want to, first of all, thank our mayor for the great job he's doing, and he is truly everywhere. Every day he is all over the place in all communities, reaching out to folks and doing a tremendous job, as all of our council members are. These guys are out every single day all over the city, and they do a wonderful job, and I appreciate the work that they do. One of the great things I get to do as vice mayor is to meet with all kinds of folks, and particularly when it comes to elected officials. We get folks from both parties who come here that represent us, and it's a wonderful, any chance I get an opportunity to talk about Danville to folks who are not from here, I love that opportunity. And I know the mayor and I were with State Senator Bill Stanley last week as he was getting an up-close look at a lot of our schools, and the committee that he has formed to look at this in detail and potentially having some significant infrastructure improvements to our schools, which would be a wonderful thing. And so the mayor and I took the opportunity to show him that. Councilman Buckner and I spent time with Senator Kane showing him the River District and the improvements that have been happening there. And again, so I spoke today with Denver Riggleman, who I know is running for Congress, and he's going to be down here in a few weeks, and we're going to be showing him things too. So we love it when we have an opportunity to show off Danville and the work that we're doing, what we're proud of, but also what we can still use some help with. And those partnerships are important. And so I take great pride in representing our city in that capacity. But also, we have the opportunity, we as all of us on council, to reach out to all communities in our city. And we go to neighborhood meetings, we go to different events all throughout the city, and we see all different kinds of people. And I love that, and I love that. And I think it's important that we always celebrate the diversity in our city and the differences. We all have different opinions on things, and I think that's good too when we discuss those differences in a constructive way. I think it's also important, though, that we remember that one thing that binds all of us together, despite all the differences we may have on any number of things. The one thing that unites all of us in this city is that we are all Danvillians. And believe me when I say that no affiliation has ever meant more to me than that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Whittle?
Yeah, and thank you for the community leaders that have showed up, and Mr. Barksdale, it's glad to see you too. VIR brought 10,000 people in this weekend, and it was a huge impact on filling up our hotels. If you haven't been, it is a fabulous facility. It's a good economic driver for the city of Danville. Just next time you get a chance to go. And when I was leaving the house tonight, there's 1,100 employees in the city, and the news said that we had a 911 operator that delivered a baby over the telephone at 12 o'clock, which was one of ours. And that was on the evening news. And I'm sorry I don't know who that person is, but it just goes to show that everybody puts their part in, and it's a collaborative effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.